Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. We thought, why not do a bit of an Olympics recap because we're a week into it, and there's a lot to talk about. And I'm joined as always by four-time national road champion Scotty. No, I've stopped that already. Mate, I'm cooked as well and haven't really done much. Four-time national road champion John Trevorrow and Olympic gold medalist and Olympic commentator Scotty McGrory, OAM. Don't forget that, folks. It's a monster day today, Scooter, because obviously there's been some carnage at the BMX. How are you holding up?
Look, I've had to crack a cold one, fellas. I really needed a drink after today. So commentating the BMX, obviously Anthony Dean missed the semi-finals, so the Australian for the men's competition. So we're disappointed with that. He had a crash in the quarterfinals yesterday, hurt his foot, and that's why he wasn't able to come back in the second and third run of the quarterfinals to make his way into the semi. So we're disappointed with that. Okay, but we still had Lauren Reynolds and Saya Sakakibara in the women's race, and we've seen so much of the publicity that Seven have put out around Saya and her brother Kai. They did a lot of promotion before he had his accident in February last year. So they were already on board with this Japanese-Australian, brother and sister combination that were both going to the Olympic Games. And honestly, Japan has as close a bond to them as we do in Australia, because all of their first 6-7 years of school was in Japan. They had to learn English better when they came back to Australia because their Japanese was better than their English. The town hall where their grandmother lives and where her mum was from, they had life-size cardboard cutouts of them in the town hall. So they were looking forward to it. Of course, then Kai had his crash, and he's still going to be recovering from that. He'll never race again. And then, we get into the semi-finals. Like the defending champion in the men's competition, Connor Fields from America, we still actually don't have an update on him. He crashed really badly in the final run of the semi-finals, straight on the stretcher, straight into the ambulance into hospital, which is never a good sign when they're desperate to get someone to the hospital as quick as possible. So fingers crossed that he is okay. And then we get through the second semi-final of the men. Okay, yep, right, bam, first semi-final, women, 2 Australians, and Saya crashes out and didn't move when she hit the track. She didn't move. I've been communicating a lot with her dad, Martin. He's based in Sydney, while his wife, Yuki, and Kai have been in Tokyo. Kai is going to be the part of the torch parade for the Paralympics. So they're over there. He's on his own in Sydney. And I sent him a message just before the semi-final started. He responded to that. We were talking about different things. And then Saya crashed and didn't move on the track. And it's one thing to know the story and watch it unfold, but to be a part of the commentary, you're commentating it, looking at it, also connected now to the family. I've had FaceTime conversations with the family, with Kai and with Yuki in Japan. So certainly a lot more attached to them now as a family and the story and what they've gone through. And to see that you just take it on board. It's crushing. For me as a commentator who has only just got to know these people, and they are a lovely family. And then she was okay in the end, but the interview after the race when she was crying and saying how she felt like she's let everybody down, you can only feel for her. It's heart-crushing stuff, and that's elite sport. She hasn't let anyone down, of course. She's only 21. She's got 3 years to the next Olympics. She'll be one of the favourites to chase the medals there as well. But she was riding for Kai. She was in that race not just to try and ride for herself. She was hopeful of making her big brother proud, who will never race again. And it's hard not to get emotional.
Does it make it harder?
I was just going to say they both were going to qualify. If they didn't come together. But I was just going to say, because the American girl that crashed with her is married to Sam Willoughby. Sam Willoughby, yeah. who had the terrible crash and is a paraplegic from a crash.
And that was so. He went to the Rio. He was a silver medalist from the London Olympics. Went to Rio, didn't get a medal. He was disappointed in that, and then just in a freak training accident, he was only actually warming up on a track that he'd ridden hundreds of times, and just flipped it over a jump. He was manualing over one of the jumps and flipped it, landed on his head, broke his neck, and he's wheelchair bound. So there's that heartbreak already. And Elise was probably the favourite, actually. She's been the rider on form, the current world champion. So they're dealing with the issue that she's now missing out on the final as well. So there's the Aussie connection with Sam, what he's been through. Elise, she crashes out as well. Saya in that accident. And honestly, if both of them just rode through to the finish, they would have been first and second. They both would have qualified to go into the final. And, they had that coming together, and they both went down and crashed out of the Olympic Games. So many things going on today. Everyone's emotionally drained in at Channel 7 as well, because you can imagine, I guess people don't understand the amount of time and effort and money, et cetera, that goes into the broadcast. People are so invested within the Channel 7 broadcast team, the hosts. Joanna Griggs knows virtually every single athlete. She's studied them, rehearsed. She knows everything about them all. And she's a former athlete herself. So she really buys in to each of these athletes and the journey that they're on. She was in tears after she came off hosting the shift when the BMX finished. She was in tears. And, of course, then that just puts everybody else in tears. And everyone's been an emotional wreck in at Channel 7 today just because we've been on board following, the Sakakibara family.
Well, I saw an interview with the guy on the ground who does the on-course interviews, and he was really shaken.
Matt Carmichael.
Yeah. And how's it been commentating with, obviously, Phil we know pretty well, but Anna Mears, obviously a legend of Australian Olympic history. How's she been with everything as well?
Yeah, well, look, she's obviously been nervous because it's something new to her. But fantastic. She's been great. I think she's really enjoyed these few days. The difference today was after we finished and we went in to have something to eat into the cafeteria in at Channel 7, she admitted that she was completely spent. And it's one of the things that I realised very early on when I was started commentating is, especially when you get emotionally invested in stories like the Sakakibaras, you're putting it all out there and you'll finish commentating and your legs don't feel as if they've done anything because you've just been sitting on your butt all day, and they haven't, right? And as an athlete, to feel tired, you need to normally physically feel tired. Mentally, you should be okay. It's just you pushed your body really hard and you've got sore legs and you're really tired. But this stuff drains you mentally. You're so emotionally drained from all of this, and that's what she was feeling today. Now, we've had 3 days of road events, commentary, plus, I've done a couple of the mountain bike days of commentary as well. And now we're into the BMX. So for Anna, was that 5 days of commentary. She's tired anyway from all of the research and the effort that goes into it. Throw in the emotional twists and the highs and lows that we've had over the last couple of days at BMX. And she's looking for the next couple of days of rest because BMX freestyle starts tomorrow. So neither of us are on that one, and we'll be back for the track. And I tell you what, we both need the next 2 days just to come back down to reality and get ourselves all sorted for the track.
John, just before you do, I've noticed a big shift, it feels like, for this coverage. Obviously, with the lockdown, so many more people are watching it, but there seems like there's a big ploy to involve the families of these athletes. We're seeing a lot with the swimming. You said, you've been in contact with the BMX side of things, but even with the canoeing, having Fox's old man commentating as well. Is this been a big shift in the way they cover sports to really dig a bit deeper into the family and that journey leading up to the Olympics?
Look, I know from my perspective, I'll always reach out, in these sorts of roles, because it's not just like the World Championships, et cetera. You're also, with the Olympic Games, it's next level stuff, okay? And you're reaching a different audience. It's not just hardcore cycling fans. So you really also want to educate the wider audience as to who these people are. And that's also a push from the broadcasters, whether it's been, Channel 9 in 2012, Channel 7 now, and I've worked with, Foxtel, also Channel 10 on Commonwealth Games coverages. They really want to know about who it is that's under that helmet, who's behind that visor, all those sunglasses. Tell us a story about them. What are they thinking? Where are they from? What are the challenges they've had to overcome? Whereas when you do a World Championships or a National Championships, often the audience are hardcore cycling fans. They just want to know how they're going to win the race and who does win the race. This is bigger. This is different. So you have to investigate, learn a bit more about all the competitors, their backgrounds. So I'll always reach out to coaching staff, family members, and try and gather as much information. Make sure the pronunciations of their names are correct, where they come from, all of those sort of little extra bits of insight, so that we can then hopefully pass that on to the audience. And that's just so much more engaging for an audience. If you've learned a little bit more about their background and who they really are, then they get more buy-in. It's empowering for an audience. The crowd connection, so the family connection that they've been having, we saw it at the BMX today, the riders coming up to the screen, cameras at homes. That is obviously because of the pandemic and people haven't been allowed to travel. I think the Sakaki Boroughs have been incredibly inclusive and open, considering Kai and his injuries from last year. It's still so very fresh. So it's amazing that they've allowed that kind of access. And I think that maybe it just seems more that it's happening more. But I know that, in past games, they certainly have reached out to family members. But I think they've just had to this time to have that crowd engagement. Some of it, like the screens they were having after the BMX today, I hope that continues, because even when it opens up, say Paris in 3 years, everything's fine and you can have everybody at the games, there's still going to be people back home or around the world that can't get there or couldn't get tickets. So I think it'd be nice to still have that. It's another way for people to connect.
Iffy?
Yeah, well, I had a similar question, but I got to tell you, I think they're definitely showing more of the families because, as you mentioned, there are not many crowds there. But I have been watching a lot of the Olympics. I'm loving every second of it. But and it's been fantastic. And it's almost like you don't miss the crowd so much. It's been so well shot. They keep saying there's not many here, but it's been fantastic. But I've got to take, if I had a hat on, I'd take it off to you, Scotty. Just you personally, your commentary's been the next level. It's been absolutely brilliant. But
thanks, Johnny.
But the actual the teamwork between you and Anna and Phil has been world class. It's just been absolutely brilliant, and you really come over as a team. Not like with Dan and I, where we jump over top of each other all the time.
Well, haven't you changed your tune, John? Now you're good on you, Scotty. You used to treat this guy like crap.
Yeah.
Well,
berate was the word we've used in the past.
Stepped up.
Look,
I knew I'd get him there.
Oh, yeah.
you were training me for it. Thanks, Scotty. Hey, interestingly, and what people don't realise, and Anna's now she's learning really quickly about all of this, as well as how the behind the scenes, how it all really works, and how much people are invested in this. And we're only talking this afternoon about some of the other commentators and how good they are now that she's met them, seen how they work, the information that they deliver. And then when she sits down and listens to them now, she listens in a different way. She's hearing different information than what she would have previously had she not met that person and understood the amount of research and everything that went into it and what their background is. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to put these broadcasts together. And at something like the Olympics, you do have experts like us that come from these sports. And, I put as much into this as I did as an athlete. Obviously not the hours of training and blood, sweat and tears and all of that, but you're still invested. You still want to make sure you're presenting it in a way that is acceptable, that the athletes that are doing it and participating in it would be happy with the way that we have presented them. I feel there's a fair responsibility on us to make sure we do that. Now, from a team perspective, I think it's the right terminology, John, because Anna, Phil and I, we are a team, and our job is to present to the audience the best way we possibly can. And egos are completely out the door. We had for example, with the road races, because Phil is in London and separate from Anna and I, Channel 7 put it to me, look, would it be better if I do the, coming back from an ad break or throws to ad breaks and actually lead the coverage and just have Phil, so there's, no potential technical issues, just doing the normal call. And I sort of top and tail, all of the commentary, and said, look, you know what, Phil, that's what Phil does. That's what he's best at. Let's use Phil when we've got him for what he's really, really best at. And that is that voice coming back from an ad break, the segues into some bird that flies past, he'll know what breed it is. He's brilliant at that. And yeah, sure, there might be the occasional, stuff up and misname, miss country or whatever it might be, but we all make mistakes. Phil is just Mr. TV. He knows how it works. His voice is fantastic. So I said, no, I won't do that. Let's get Phil to do that stuff because that's what he's best at, and that's what will enhance the broadcast.
Is it much like you were saying before the comparison being an athlete? If you do the prep and you do the research, therefore every day you go into commentary, you don't have those nerves because you've done all the prep?
Yeah. And you still have the nerves. So we'll do more research, and Anna's found this out now as well. You do way more research than you could ever actually put into a broadcast. But what it does is it gives you the confidence that you do know enough about these athletes. You know enough about the course. You know enough about the conditions. And you just want that extra bit of confidence. Now, for a rider or an athlete of any sport, that confidence comes from just knowing you've done as much as you possibly can and you could not get any fitter or in better condition for race day. And it is the same. It's the same with the commentary team. Now, the opposite of that is, when I was thrown into the modern pentathlon 5 years ago, I had, literally 15 minutes notice when I was told to commentate the last event of modern pentathlon. Chloe Esposito from Australia. Apparently she was within a chance of a medal. I'd never heard of her. I didn't know what the final event of modern pentathlon was. I was absolutely shitting myself, thinking I was going to do a live broadcast to Australia on a Saturday morning around 10 a.m. I think it was. So everyone's going to tune in and watch this. I don't even know what the final event is. So it was trying to research as quickly as I possibly could. I had someone there beside me feeding me some information, and then you have to deliver it as if you know what you're talking about. And I had everything I said over that next sort of 45 minutes, I learnt during that 45 minutes.
Absolutely brilliant, actually. It just confirmed to me what a bullshitter you are, because you bullshitted that very well.
Yes, well done. I actually, one of the funniest things from that call, for me, when I think back about it, I needed a drink after that one, I tell you, believe me, as well, that night. But was because it was the final event, for those that don't know what the modern pentathlon is, and when Chloe Esposito went on to win gold, is the combined running and shooting. And I thought, well, hang on, I've spent a lot of time in Europe. I really enjoyed watching the biathlon in cross-country skiing and, air rifle shooting throughout the winter on Eurosport. And I just appreciated the endurance aspect of that sport. Plus, then you've got to be completely still, get your heart rate down, and shoot accurately. And I thought, that's fascinating. So I used to watch a lot of it. And I thought, oh, yeah, well, that sounds like biathlon. I should be good at this. I know what that is, kind of thing. And when they started, they went to the first shoot, I realised, okay, it's pistols. And I just assumed it was air pistols like the air rifles in biathlon for the skiing would be. And then I realised as they are doing it and I'm commentating that they were laser pistols, not real ammunition. And lucky I'm not saying this as I'm realising it, because then I thought, oh, actually the targets are in front of the grandstand. So, yeah, that makes sense, because if they missed, they'd be killing spectators. That wouldn't look very good, would it? So I'm actually having this realisation as I'm actually commentating the sport. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. So, yeah, it's strange what you can do and get away with if you know how to bullshit.
Well, random Olympic story, not killing spectators, but I saw someone posted, I didn't even realise the Seoul Olympics when they lit the cauldron, and they've banned doves ever since. Did you see that, Iffy? Yeah, in the 88, and they lit it up.
They cooked them.
How did you put that phrase?
This is what it sounds like when doves fry. Hey, I'll run through some comments.
We didn't know any of the doves personally or their families, so it's okay to laugh about it.
Sandy Woolley says, a reminder that cycling is a dangerous sport. BMX in particular, thoughts with all injured. M. Gamboa says, hello from Mexico, gents. Thanks for tuning in, pal. Stuart McCulley says, Anna is certainly doing an amazing job. Ken Purdy wants to know, wonder what Scooter thinks of the new technology in track frames, especially the UK Hope frame. Whilst the UCI say the public must be able to buy them, as far as I know, no one has.
Yeah, that's been an ongoing thing since 2012. I think the bikes.
No hope of buying one. Yeah.
No hope of a hope. So the bikes in 2012, I think it was the first time they brought in that requirement that you had to be able to purchase them. So they said, yeah, no probs. They made the price, I think, on the Team Pursuit bikes for London for the British team, $150,000 each. So you'd need to buy at least 6, as long as you know what sizes of your team pursuit squad is. Do your maths. No one was buying them. And actually, I did hear that someone went online to actually try and see if they could make the purchase, and they couldn't actually get through to the pay page to actually buy them in the first place. So, yeah, I think that's still a bit of a loophole in that proceeding. I think they look really weird, but I imagine they are going to be incredibly fast. So we'll see. Now, the technology for this year is the same as what it was going to be. No one's been allowed to come up with anything else in the last 12 months since the games were postponed. So what we know about from, 18 months ago is the same now. Apparently, if it's all correct, the actual most expensive bike on the track is actually the Malaysian team. They've got, so Azizul Awang for the Kieran, his bike is apparently more expensive to purchase, if you can, than what the British bikes are.
Ooh, that'll add to the commentary, Scooter. Annette Miller says, "Hi, Scott. Did you know your commentary was not on the streaming service 7+? It was Rochelle Gilmore when they cut away from the Channel 7 broadcast in the middle of the women's race." Now, a few people have mentioned this. Why is it different commentary on the app as opposed to the broadcast?
Okay, sure. Yeah, look, I did know that. And it's been interesting because we've had, like during the road races, we've had, mine and Phil and also Anna's friends that are road cyclists have messages about that. And then when I did the mountain bike with Paul van der Ploeg, Vandy was inundated with people saying, "Hey, I thought you were doing the mountain biking." So we had it from that angle. And then today it was the BMXers saying, "Hang on, I thought you guys..." But so, yeah, and it'll be the same on the track. Anyone that tunes into the track will, "Well, hang on, why aren't you guys doing this?" So, look, the way the digital platforms work, which is great that you can watch whatever sport you want, at any time of the day. What it is, though, is that, say, Network 7 have purchased from OBS, which is the Olympic Broadcast Services, which is the production company that the IOC get involved for the Olympic Games. They purchased their package from them to be able to go onto the digital platform. Now, it's the OBS that employ the commentators, which they call the host broadcasters, host commentators. They are the ones that are on that platform. Now, we have all of the commentary teams in here have asked to be put onto that app platform, but it's not a simple thing. It's not the whole thing comes out of Japan as is with that commentary. So it would cost a lot more money for them to actually have us on it. They certainly are considering it because the messages have been fairly overwhelming across all of the different sports. And look, for us as commentators, it's somewhat frustrating as well because, look, we want to do the long form. We want to be there for the long haul and commentate the whole way through. The one challenge would also be that if we're on, say, the main channel, and if they go to an ad break or if they're going to go to a channel change or just then go onto the digital platform, they're telling us that. The producers are telling them that in our ears. So we need to then pause for a while before they can cue us back in. So if we were on the app, you'd have these little sort of between 5 to 30 second moments of no commentary whatsoever while we go in and out of channel changes and ad breaks and things like that, which is doable. I've certainly done that before. It's not a big issue. And I think for a lot of people, maybe 30 seconds without having to listen to me, they'd probably enjoy it.
Hey, guys, let's have a quick ad break, and then we're going to go back and talk about some of the road events because there's a bit to unpack there. And Iffy, we've added in a little message from the Amy Gill Foundation. We're going to be doing a bit more work with those guys over the next couple of months at least. And they've got some great awareness campaigns going on at the moment. So we've added in a little video message from those guys as well as a bike exchange.
Street, it's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. When you're driving, it's nice to be friendly, but make sure there's enough personal space between you and people on bikes, because a metre matters. Stacks of people ride bikes. Just as you expect to see other vehicles on the road, expect to see people riding bikes too. Bike riders also need to be aware of traffic lights, magpies, prams, potholes, pedestrians, Google vans. Look, just be aware. Come rain, hail, shine, sleet or snow, no matter what the conditions, drive safely wherever you go. Opening your car door without looking can cause serious injuries to bike riders. Always check your side mirrors and look over your shoulder for people riding bikes. Don't open your door unless you're sure there's no one coming. Let people know where you're going, so check your blind spots and indicate early, and always use your hands when changing lanes and turning. Most road rules are for everyone. Stop at red lights and always give right of way at intersections. But some rules are just for riding bikes, like wearing a helmet when you're out on your wheels, because it might just save your life. You also need bike lights and bright clothes, because sometimes it's hard to see and be seen by other road users without them. You don't need to look like a disco on wheels, just a light on the front and one on the back. Something else that's important on a bike: brakes. Take it from me, it's not good if they don't work. None of us like to imagine the worst, but just in case, carry some ID when you ride your bike. Riding a bike can be hard work. We don't all have legs of steel, so eat, drink and rest when you need to. So there it is, consideration and mutual respect. It doesn't take much. After all, it's a two-way street.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to our great mates at Bike Exchange, and some good messages there from the Amy Gillett Foundation. Iffy, I'm sure you tick all those boxes when you're out on the road with the Dad's Army in Geelong.
Yes, well, I've been showing them how to ride a bike, and on Tuesday I showed them how to fall off without hurting yourself as well.
Yeah, what happened there?
A little bit of mud on the concrete. Right, look, we're doing 0k an hour, turned the corner, cut one of the guys off, and then down I went. They all stayed upright. I fell off.
Yeah. I want to kick things off with talking about the road races. Now, before the start of the women's events, I was talking up, obviously, Annemiek van Vleuten and the story, how much the games would mean to her. And Scooter, that has to be one of the best stories of the Olympics so far, the fact that she was able to get the gold in the time trial. We know what happened with the road race where she thought she won, but does that story really stand out for you so far?
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there, isn't it? Because, look, she's a lovely person. We all know Annemiek. And, yeah, winning the time trial, especially had she not won the time trial after what happened in the road race, it'd be the same, wouldn't it? You have to feel terribly for her, but she deserves it. It was a great ride. Obviously, she deserves the time trial. Anyone that – same with the men with Roglic, what incredible rides from both of them. But coming back from, 5 years ago and that terrible crash that took her out of a dead set gold medal – in Rio, so it's great that she's come away with the gold. When she crossed the line in the road race, obviously we're calling it, and we know exactly what's happening with time gaps and stuff. It's all there. We can see it. We've got the camera angles and everything. But when Annemiek came across the line, she went. It was a wide shot on the finish line, and she went right across to the right hand side of the road, left hand side of the screen for us, and then threw her arms up. But they didn't focus on her for too long. It was kind of like just the last minute she threw her arms up, and I remember saying. Look, she's really celebrated winning silver. And as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, did she think she won that? Because we were still trying to work it out ourselves because we knew, of course she knew that there was someone up the road. No, she didn't, and then you see that first shot of her afterwards when she comes to her coach where she's really celebrating as if she's won gold. And then eventually someone has to tell her that, no, there was someone up the road. Didn't you do your maths? So that was heartbreaking. So there's 2 Olympics in a row where she's crashed out and then basically messed up not knowing. Now I don't know how much that would have changed, because the Dutch was like 10Ks to go that they actually started to try and commit to bringing the gap down. So yeah, basically there was some pretty big stuff, monumental stuff ups by the Dutch, and no race radios, small teams. I think there's something really to be said that you're limiting the number of starters by having only a couple of teams with 4 riders, then a couple with 3 and a couple with 2. Who's going to do all the chasing when these big breakaways go up the road by so far? I think they need to think about
maybe you don't let them get 10 minutes up the road. Maybe that would have been a little bit of an.
I told you the break was going to win. I just stuffed up. I meant for the women's race.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, but see, you get 4 riders in the Dutch team, guys, that all could have won on their own. So you have to sacrifice 2 of them. You have to sacrifice 2 of them to just get on the front and chase. And then every other team are thinking, great, this is the way we can beat the Dutch, by weakening down to only 2 riders. So no one was going to assist them in that chase, even if they did take it up earlier. But you are right, John. Don't let the gap go out that far.
But that just shouldn't happen,
we're talking about the women's time trial, which we just were. What a great ride from Grace Brown. I mean, she just missed the bronze medal by 6.5 seconds. So absolutely brilliant ride.
Yeah, and the crashing out at the women's Giro, that obviously played a role. That definitely affected Amanda Spratt. She was nothing like her normal self in the road race. So you've got to feel for her. And so not an ideal preparation for Grace. It just shows, people look at Grace's age and think, oh yeah, look, she's not that young. But look, she's so new to cycling. She's still learning. She's going to be fantastic. Give her another 3 years, Paris. No, she's a force, a real force.
And so will the other young Aussie in there, who's very young, Sarah Giganti. I mean, gee, how many broken bones did you have just recently? And to come back, and she finished 11th. She was right in the mix. So fantastic.
Broken leg, mate. Broke her leg this year. Like that's in Flesh Falone earlier this year, and the amount of time that she's had to have off to repair that. Then it's the home trainer training, because she couldn't go outside. Very limited road training towards the end anyway. Then you've got to think about things like, your diet. Like, she had to be so strict on her diet because she wasn't riding much. So you can't come to the games 2 kilos overweight. You're going to have no chance. So she's an incredible young character. The strength of mind and the team that she has around her. And this is not the first time that she's come back from terrible injuries like this. She did this when she was second year under 19, broke both arms, and still trained for the Junior World Championships, 2 international trips that year, coming back from broken arms, plus then getting a perfect score for her ATAR year 12. She's an incredible character. And if she can stay upright and not break more bones, she'll be as good, if not better, than someone like Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got a couple more comments. Obviously, Wendy Superfan. Hi, Dan, John, and Scott. G'day, Wendy. Carolyn Harbeck says, love listening to Scooter, Anna, and Phil commentating, with a big thumbs up. Brian Kavanagh says, hi, lads. Listening to you while I wax my chain for the first time, praying I don't completely mess it up. I've adjusted that. Annette Miller says...
wax his legs. When you said wax, a bit too intimate for me, but anyway, I said chain.
This is a good point. Annette Miller, she says, as a showcase for road racing, should the men's road race be shorter, so it's ridden more aggressively from the beginning? When the peloton sat up and rode the first 50K like a social ride, it was not a good look. What do you think, Scooter?
Look, I love a social ride. So if you're in that peloton, it would be nice to catch up with guys you haven't seen for a little while. Look, there's an argument for it. But I don't know. Look, I think that the type of course, having a start and finish locations in different places, we saw this with the World Championships in Geelong as well, starting in Melbourne. It lends itself to that casual rollout for a long time. When you have races like it used to always be, the Olympics and road races, John, and you can have your take on this as well. I think the breakaway, the early breakaway, doesn't get anywhere near, or hasn't for a very long time, anywhere near the kind of gaps that we've had before, because they're forced to go up whatever the hard hill is on that course every lap. And I think it just changes the dynamic of the race. Yeah. The sport is about the endurance. It is the long form, and you're going to come with that. You're going to have long, boring races sometimes. But it is about trying to wear them down over a really long period of time, so that finale allows the very best in the world to shine through. And for those that haven't raced at that level, there are a number of riders, a lot of riders that can race up to 200 kilometres, and the old Olympic distance was 180 for the amateurs. It's only since the pros have come in that it's gone that bit further. There are a lot of riders, and you go and do the classics in Europe and all those things, plenty of guys are competitive to 180 to 200 kilometres. Once it clicks over 200, that's a different breed of animal that is still competitive to 230, 40, 260 kilometres. That's your Tom Burnens and your Cancellaras and your Sagans. That's when they really get to shine. That said, we've had some spectacular short stages in the Tour de France. It's just that they are 1 or 2 or 2.5 weeks into a long race. So the endurance, effect has already taken place.
Yeah, I love the short races in the Tour de France. The short stages, just every time, love them. But they whack a few longer ones in as well. But the short ones are always great. But when it comes to the Olympics and the classics, the monuments, it's the distance plus the topography that makes those events. They're pretty special. And the Olympic road race, I thought this year was one of the great Olympic road races, actually. Okay, a little bit boring the first 40 or 50K, but it wasn't boring in the last 100K. It was a fantastic bike race.
Got to feel for one up, don't you?
I reckon shorten it up. Shorten it up.
Yeah.
Throw a blanket over it. Have 20 guys that could potentially win because it is shorter and it is more on from the gun. It's entertainment, fellas.
As you say, Dan, you're not really interested in cycling anyway, so no one's going to listen to what you have to say.
No, you
because
never
it's not right.
Hey, think about it for Channel 7. The longer the race, the more ad breaks you can put in. So that's more revenue. So that's going to help them, isn't it? Then they can pay Phil and more money.
That's my
point. It was a fantastic bike race. It was a fantastic bike race. Don't mess with it.
If you take out the first couple of hours, boring. Spice it up. All right. Well, it's agree to disagree. Ryan,
sorry, mate. Wout van Aert's performance.
Yep.
Do you still get that if it's still only, okay, he got silver, but there was no one else in that group, and the reason that he was on his own, and I think I said in commentary, Wout is the driver of this bus, the chase group behind Carapaz. He is the driver of this bus. Unfortunately, when he looks over his shoulders, he just has too many passengers. Now, part of that reason was they were all on their hands. And Wout was really squeezing it on the hill. No one else could really come through, except for maybe Gaudu. Gaudu put the whole poker face on, I'm hurting, and then he attacked them. Like, yeah, bloody frog, should have been rolling through. I spoke to O'Grady about this. O'Grady was livid that you've got a chase group, the gold medal is just up the road, just up there in front of them, and yet everyone's sitting on Wout thinking, well, he's going to beat us if we catch him anyway. Well, you're not going to catch him unless you help him. Unless then you've got a chance for gold. They should have all been rolling through, doing something to keep Carapaz within contention to have a chance at gold. They threw it away, the whole group.
They did.
Ryan wants to know, do you think Anna van der Breggen should hang on another 3 years and go for gold again in Paris? Do you think she'd be able to win the ITT if she didn't retire?
Look, I think the biggest question around this comes down to the salaries. I think she's stopping because she's not earning $1 million a year like the guys. Like if she was earning a male salary, she'd stay till she was 40, as so many of the guys do. She loves the sport just as much as they do. She trains just as hard as they do, but she needs to get on with her life so she can start to perhaps make some real money because she's not getting paid enough to be a professional cyclist.
It's a shame, isn't it? Rowan Dennis, obviously that was an impressive result. Iffy, third in the time trial. He did put it out there by not riding in the road race and setting himself for this, but you must have been pretty impressed with his ride behind the Rog and Dumoulin.
Yeah, look, it's funny, isn't it? We're all talking about the Tour de France in the road race. It was all the Tour de France riders that dominated the medals in the race. But, Primoz Roglic only rode 1 week of the Tour de France. The other two didn't ride it at all. Very impressed with Rowan's ride. And interestingly, all three of them are going to be Jumbo Visma next year. So if they've got any team time trials in the Tour de France next year, they'll be pretty hard to beat. But no,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Johnny. So when was that? I've been so immersed in everything else. When was that announced?
Well, it was announced a couple of days ago that Rowan's going to Jumbo next year. And I also saw that Primoz has signed on for till 2024, I think. And Dumoulin has just announced that he's going to ride on next year. So staying with Jumbo. So yes, all three of them will be Jumbo next year.
So that must have been. So that was announced when I was must have been doing the mountain biking with Paul van der Ploeg. So I didn't have an interest in road racing. I was a mountain biker at that point.
Zippy wants to know how much faster would have Rowan been on the blacked out BMC?
Who knows? All this stuff.
I think he was pretty happy with his bike. Look, he was only, what was he, 1.5 seconds from the silver medal. And then Stefan Kung was only 4/100ths behind Rowan for the bronze medal. So it was bloody close. I think Gunnar was only 2 seconds back in fifth. So it was a really close race for that silver and bronze medals, but daylight to Roglic, who pulled out one of the great time trials of all time.
Tore himself inside out, and we know that because we saw that in the images, of just everything from inside Roglic coming out as well, just hanging off his chin and of his out of his mouth. It's disgusting. Great ride. You've got to be happy for him, eh? How happy? Look, we want obviously Rowan to win, but for Primoz, second at the Tour last year, and that whole time trial, we call about the meltdown. He still ran fifth in the bloody stage, so it was a pretty good ride. And then crashing out of the Tour this year. So, you've got to be happy for a guy that has put in so much to come away with the gold medal. Yeah.
Not sure about his team kit, though. That Slovenian team shirt looks a bit cheap, you know?
I'm not happy about any of the road riders on the podium. The road riders on the podium, so he's wearing a shirt, they're wearing tracksuit tops. The girls, even the Dutch too, were wearing different tops. Like they just, I don't know, it looked like a club competition in the end when it came to the podium and presentation. I wasn't happy about that.
Well, I saw
fashion police.
Just totally going off canter here. There was controversy today with one of the US Olympic swimmers who ran fifth and refused to wear a mask in the interview post-race. And he's also one of these sort of anti-vaxxers that's got on his high horse, and he has been absolutely slammed. Because generally this Olympics, has it surprised you, Scotty, that obviously COVID's been a big talking point and it is just exploded in Tokyo, that it hasn't run through the games like a bushfire?
Well, we saw it with athletics, didn't we? The Aussie team had to go into quarantine or isolation for, I think it was 2 hours, so they're okay. Now it's only 2 hours. And, I don't know, all these people coming back from Europe to Australia, spending 14 days in hotel quarantine. Apparently it's only 2 hours and you're good to go again. But I am expecting that to continue to happen. I think that, how can you stop that? So hopefully it doesn't. I hate to see athletes lose their chance because they may be asymptomatic, not feeling any issues, could compete, but can't because they test positive. Look, the whole reason it's on is because everybody has gone through their own bubbles, their own processes and protocols to make sure they can come here. So pull your head in, whoever that guy was, and just put a mask on. Who cares?
Geez, there's going to be a sense of relief once the games have finished for all the organisers and that with all the stress they would have had to have gone through. But I was just saying before, Buster Thomas, he agrees with me, Olympics not for the diehards, make it more dynamic. And Tony Dean said, surprise Olympic road race is not a circuit. Much better for the spectators on the ground and TV viewers get to know the course and know what's coming up. Now, John, you've designed a few courses. Would you do it as a circuit? You love a good circuit, don't you? I
do. The Worlds in Geelong, 14K circuit. So you have they had to go Melbourne to Geelong, but then a 14K circuit. I thought it was fantastic. I do like it. It's great for the spectators. They had a circuit here, but it was a pretty big circuit around Mount Fuji. But, I do like a really good circuit. So mixing place to place and then circuit is the way to go, I reckon, which I think is the Geelong, the World Championships in New South Wales, which are next year. It will be the same thing, a place to place. I'll probably go Sydney down to Wollongong and then around the circuit. I think it's fantastic.
I think there are discussions, guys, around because it's not a short stint, is it, from Sydney down to Wollongong. Not sure exactly what the Ks are, 80 Ks or something like that maybe. But where it actually starts in Sydney, because you've got the incredible landmarks, obviously the bridge and the Opera House, etc. So there is a lot of discussion at the moment as to where it actually starts and what part of the landmarks or which landmarks it may go through for TV images. Depending on what they end up coming up with, it could limit how many circuits they do in Wollongong, I think you've got to get that balance right between what looks good for a peloton to ride past and how much that really is of value compared to how much that may change the back end of the race where you really want it to be exciting and difficult.
Annette Miller says that Van der Breggen is going to be a sport director.
Yeah.
So she's going into a different role. Now, Scooter, looking ahead before we wrap things up, you must be getting excited with the track events coming up soon.
Yeah. Well, there was a bit of a hint a little while ago from Channel 7 that they might get me on the BMX freestyle, which starts tomorrow. I won't be doing that. It's the guys, or one of the commentators at least, that did the skateboarding the other day, and they're bringing in an actual expert of BMX freestyle. So I'm looking forward to these next couple of days just to get a little bit of recovery. And I'm genuinely truthful about how challenging today was for us emotionally. So I do need that tomorrow or over these next couple of days. And I'll also then get into a bit more research just on some of the athletes that I don't know a lot about from the track in some of the countries that they may not get medals, but you still want to do them a good service as well. It's going to be a cracker. It's really going to be a cracker. The men's team pursuit, is one of the events I'm really looking forward to and very nervous about, because there are, 5 countries that are genuine contenders. And I spoke to Tim Decker and Glenn O'Shea, 2 of the coaches a couple of days ago, actually, and no one really knows where anyone's at. That's what's going to make these track events so interesting and unpredictable, that there hasn't been these competitions over the last 12 months at any really high level. So no one really knows what the competition are going to be like. So they've all just done what they could for training. And at Team Pursuit, they might be going in thinking, yep, we know the power data, we know what our trial times have been, we're in pretty good shape. But is that going to be 3 seconds behind, a team that, that you haven't raced against for 3 years or 2 years? So this is going to be really interesting to see how it goes. And then when you get to the events like the sprint, men's sprint, Matthew Glazer and these guys, that's a discipline, and the Kirans as well. It's a massive advantage to do lots of that, so that, you've got the tactics and the skills and your opposition much better. Same, everybody's just been training. So they'll all be fast and they'll all be powerful, but will they have the racing instinct that you'd normally have at this level of competition? So it's going to be intriguing. I think there'll be a lot of, or some real upsets, because guys just don't have that race freshness.
Ooh, it's going to be intriguing.
It's going to be fantastic. Well, normally the team pursuit was between the Poms and the Aussies, and then the Danes come onto the scene. So a third team. Now, as you mentioned, the Italians are in there. So there are 5 or even 6 teams are really with a chance for that gold medal, which is just amazing.
Well, with the Italians, so obviously the Danes hold the world record now. Now, that was done last year at the World Championships, which was the Olympic year. So every Olympics, every 4 years, the world record comes down 3 or 4 seconds. If you go through it historically, for at least sort of the last 20 or 30 years, roughly 3 to 4 seconds every time is how much the world record comes down. That came down last year, which was to be an Olympic year. So their preparation was on target to be super quick. They've now had to stretch that another 12 months. So how has that worked? They're not going to go another 3 or 4 seconds. But
no, they cooked.
Or maybe they could. Yeah, exactly. So we don't know. The Italians have Filippo Ganna. Now, Ganna, I'm pretty sure I said this in commentary, my question over him, he's a brilliant time trialer, obviously, but my question was, you can't just go off the Tour of Italy and then prepare for time trial for the Olympics and then have 1 week of training for the team pursuit. Right? He's going to be a key figure in the Italian team for that. So he's had to spend the last 2 months preparing for the team pursuit, short form, big power, and it was a hilly time trial course. It had to affect him. So that was my question. maybe I was accurate with that, I'm not sure, but he didn't win it. He didn't get a medal, right? So, but has he got incredible form for the team pursuit? I think at the last World Championships he rode for them, it's a 16-lap race. He did, I think, 7 laps of the team pursuit for Italy. That's how strong he is. That's how vital he is. Now, if he's this next level superhuman, he might drag the Italians, into a gold medal. Then you throw the Kiwis in. They've got Jordan Kirby from Brisbane, an Aussie, that missed the Aussie team. So he then went and started riding for New Zealand. So we could have an Aussie riding for New Zealand beating us for a medal. And the Swiss have seemingly come from nowhere. So they're in the mix as well. It's going to be great. Team pursuit's going to be a cracker.
Is it a problem when you do have someone as strong as Garner that you can actually cook the guys behind you if you can't regulate, your efforts?
Somewhat. He just needs to. Well, they also need to judge when they use him within the team. So typically, all of the teams now, instead of it being the way it used to be, was 1 lap on the front, each swing up, go to the back, and that over 16 laps ends up being 4 times on the front for each rider. They've completely changed that. So it's almost at a situation now where each rider will do 2 turns a pace. So they've extended that out to at least a lap and a half to a minimum of a lap and a half each to 2 laps each on the front, which has also helped in terms of how long you get rest on the back. And every time you swing up at the front, you lose 0.1 of a second in overall time. So the more times you change, the slower your time, because you start stepping back every time you do that. So that's another way that the teams have gotten faster. So with Filippo, he'll just do 2 turns, and they'll be massively long. They'll be 3 or 4 laps, each time he gets on the front, which will give. Well, he'll increase the speed, but it also gives the other guys behind less time on the front, so it counteracts that somewhat. But yeah, you're right. Like if he was to just jam through at an incredibly high pace and not understand how to lift the tempo gradually, he could really hurt the legs of the other riders. They'd be well trained, and that shouldn't happen.
Because I heard that was an issue with guys like Wiggo back in the day. I think 2012, he was so strong, he was cooking the guys behind him just because he was in incredible form. So,
Well, if you go way back with the British team, I remember going to the World Championships. I've got to think when that was now. Might have been around 2000, and Chris Boardman had broken the world hour record, and he rode the individual pursuit, won that, and rode 4 minutes 13, I think it was, or 4:11, might have been 4:11, and which was an incredibly fast time as an individual pursuiter. The team pursuit team that year rode 4:13, so he rode 4:11 on his own, and then his countrymen came out without him to do the team pursuit. They were 2 seconds slower, 4 of them.
Wow.
So I remember joking, saying, "Look, Chris, just give Chris 3 cardboard cutouts to tow behind, and you'll get a better team for Britain, a better time."
All right, anything you want to add before we wrap things up, Iffy?
What's the latest on Matty Glasner? I mean, we know it's a wonderful story. He's been a superstar. He's suffered cancer. He's come back from that. But have you heard anything exactly how his form is?
Yeah, well, my understanding, and look, my co-commentator happens to be the partner of the track sprint coach, so we're getting some pretty good intel through Anna Mears, which is great. So that's also something that the audience can really enjoy when we get into the sprint commentary, because Nick Flyger is the coach, it's Anna's partner, so we're going to get absolute incredible insight that most other sports won't have. Look, he's in good form. All the sprinters, the team sprints, a couple of years ago, they weren't even considering the team sprint as a focus, and they thought the individual sprint and Kieran was more important because we didn't have a solid team and we weren't even racing for top 4. That's changed. Like we've got Matthew Richardson and Nathan Hart, and Richo is equal to Matty Glazer now in outright speed, and he's a fair bit younger. So he's really on the up and up. He does have a little bit of a back injury at the moment. So that's our concern now. So we should be top 4 in the team sprint if everything goes to standard. And Matt, the question mark around Matt is he's a guy that needs racing. Like for that instinct, that racing nous and instinct, he's better off having lots of races. Yep, he's putting out lots of power. Yes, he can go fast in a time trial, but he just has to get it right. And the opposite of that is someone like Jason Kenny, who's coming back to perhaps become the greatest British cyclist of all time at the Olympic Games and win more gold medals. So, and he's just an incredible racer. he sort of comes from nowhere and seemingly is just able to get around people in races.
And,
one thing.
Oh, sorry, mate. I was going to ask about the.
Yep.
Go for it, mate.
I was just going to throw in another goof. I was going to say, one thing I hope is if the Aussies do win gold on the track, that Anna's partner can celebrate like the swim coach, because that clip has gone viral from the games. That was fantastic.
I don't know, did you see? I put it up on my Insta story. When I saw it, I thought, you know what? That needs to be slow motion and with a bit of Shaggy, Mr. Lover Lover, over the top of it. And he was just slow-mo up against the fence, Mr. Lover Lover.
That was Laurie Lawrence all over again, wasn't it?
It was. There's so much like it.
Needed it.
I was just going to ask about
what about Thorpe's comment? Did you guys hear that when he commentated? So they showed that clip and then they panned away from it and Thorpe said, I don't know how the fence felt about that.
The funniest was the security lady, and she was just like,
she was hilarious.
You're not meant to go through here, and it's like, just let this guy go, man. A herd of wild horses ain't going to stop him from shaking that fence down. What were you going to say, John? Something serious?
No, just the Madison. We've got Geelong's own Lee Howard has come in. He's replaced Cam. So tell me how you think they're going to perform.
The man from Warren Ponds. So Lee he was a reserve to rider. It was going to be Cameron Meyer. So Lee and Kellen O'Brien for the men. Look, obviously both these guys, are good enough to do it. The Madison itself, though, it seems like it has changed. It's evolved really quickly just over these last couple of years, and the way the Danes ride it, Lasse Norman Hansen and Michael Morku, they are just such big motors. And while they have sprints every 10 laps now, they've changed from every 20 to every 10. It's seemingly that they don't matter. They're not sprinting anymore. They are just hitting out and going as hard as they possibly can for 50K, and by chance picking up points all the way around. They're just so strong. We're going to have more speed, you would think. Kell O'Brien's really, really quick on the track. So I think they're capable. So short answer, yes, they're definitely capable. It's going to be just really interesting to see who can manage the conditions, because it's going to be lightning. It's actually going to be really challenging for us to commentate, because we're looking at a screen when we commentate it, not at the venue, which makes it really challenging. And the way they race it is just attack, full gas. And if you're not in the first sort of 5-6 teams, within those first couple of laps, you're going to be chasing behind. There'll be teams missing changes, crashing, gaps opening up. And if you're not out front attacking, you're going to be out the back bridging gaps. So it's going to be challenging. The women's race traditionally has been more of a stop-start sprint race. But any team that is strong enough to race like the Danes have been the last couple of years could get a real advantage with these sprints being every 10 laps now. So Georgia Baker and Annette Edmondson will be riding for Australia in that one, with Alex Manley as the reserve. And I think Nettie will probably do the Omnium as well, which gives her 3 events, Team Pursuit, Madison and Omnium, which is hard at this level at the Olympic Games. But the Omnium itself, it's 4 bunch races or 30 minutes between each on the one day, one in the one program. So that's also going to be really challenging for them as well.
Who's riding it for the guys, the Omnium?
It'd be Sam Welsford.
Sam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a very important comment for you, Scotty, and it's from Jenny McGrory. She says, Scott, say hello to Mum. She's watching.
Oh, hello, Mum. Dot. Hope everything's going okay. So she's the project.
Quiet day, Dot.
Well, Mum is, I'll call her, I'll give her a new title. She's the project manager at Jenny's house build at Nerang, up near the velodrome where I grew up racing on, actually. So, they've moved from Drysdale in Victoria. And as you guys know, that Geelong, Drysdale, the rest of Victoria at this time of year is really not a good place to be. It's so bloody cold, as I'm finding out right now. So they're up there in the sunshine now, back on the Gold Coast where I grew up.
Yeah, but at least we can beat Delta twice, mate. Go Victoria. Yeah. On that note,
I thought she was just
just a little bit of housekeeping, Daniel.
Yes.
I thought because we were going to announce today that from the person who raised the most money has put that prize back into the pool, and so Bike Exchange are now going to donate $500 direct to Kaleka, which is really nice. So thank you, Bike Exchange. That's sensational. And also, if you've got the little logo there for the wonderful Maldives prizes coming up, we're going to make a little announcement about that, are we?
I thought we were waiting to work out what we were doing with that.
Okay.
I thought that was end of season party. Isn't that the breakup party at the end of the year?
Well, it's the Miller Resorts in the Maldives, and I thought we were going to wait until we have a link because we're trying to work out how to best activate and raise as much money as we can for the Koreka Foundation.
Next show, we'll have it all sorted out for next show.
So what you can do is just go to the Miller Resorts Maldives and just check out the resort. Just at least do that, and then you're going to see what this prize is going to be like. This is a water villa, so thanks to Jason Cruz and the team there at Miller. But we'll announce that on the next episode. And when is the next episode, John, and who will be on it?
Well, the next episode is tomorrow.
At 4:30, Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Again, yes. And Ben O'Connor. We've finally got him.
That's a big one.
It's a big one, yeah. So tune in tomorrow. And look, he's been on holidays. He's been in a small French village with no internet, and we've been trying to get him, but it hasn't worked. And he was even offered to come on today, but they said no. We've got Scott McGrory on today, so we gave him the flick. But
you left the part out. Scott McGrory, OAM. Thank you.
OAM, exactly.
Has he sobered up yet? Has Ben sobered up?
I don't think so. I think he's been on an absolute bender.
I hope he has. He's driving at the moment, so I hope he has. He's driving back to Andorra. But no, he's going to be on tomorrow, so we're really looking forward to that. And we'll tidy up our bit of housework and be able to give you all the latest on that wonderful $10,000 prize to the Maldives.
Yep, for sure. Great episode. We really appreciate you taking the time out, Scooter, because it's been a massive day. Kick back and enjoy a beer, mate, and enjoy your day off tomorrow. If you want to jump on and chat with Ben O'Connor, you're more than welcome. But if you want to just kick back and sleep for 48 hours straight, then you can do that as well.
There we go.
Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work, mate.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So we're really looking forward to the second part.
Yep, and hey, look, we're always after. I'll put it out there. We're always after different insight on different athletes and riders and things like that. So if anybody has sort of interesting tidbits that they think that the rest of the Olympic audience should hear about any of the riders that we're going to be talking about over the next few days in the track cycling, shoot through a message.
Yep, for sure. All right, thanks again for tuning in, guys. We'll be back again tomorrow, 4:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time to chat with Ben O'Connor. Big Ben.
See you, Mum.
See you, Dot.
We'll call you.
Yeah.